June is Scoliosis Awareness Month, and today I'm joined by Dr. Xavier Counts at ScoliCare because anyone can be affected by scoliosis. But today we are going into a deep dive on adolescent scoliosis. So to kind of kick things off, thank you for having us out here today. But first, what is this condition and when does it really begin?
Yeah, adolescent idiopathic scoliosis is a sideways curvature of the spine. And it's important to understand that it can start at any point in life, but when we talk about adolescent scoliosis, that is aged from 10 all the way up to 18. There can be cases of juvenile scoliosis that starts before the age of 10, but the reason why adolescent is so important is because that's when kids are going through their rapid growth spurts, and that's when they're tending to see rapid progression. The curves get a lot worse. Parents might start noticing things like their posture being off. So yeah, idiopathic means that we don't really know what the cause is. There are a lot of factors to it. It doesn't mean that we don't understand those factors. It's just that you can't put your finger on it and say like, oh, this is the only thing that causes this adolescent idiopathic scoliosis.
Right. And so of course you talked about the parents noticing those signs. So what are some of those signs?
Yeah, I'd say for parents, the important thing to understand is just don't ignore any signs that you see. But the ones that we always talk about the most, that are the most noticeable, are uneven shoulders, an uneven waistline, clothes might fit a little weird, you might notice backpack straps falling off all the time, and that's why June, being Scoliosis Awareness Month, is so important because kids are typically in a lot lighter clothing.
Yeah.
Or at the pool or by the water, so don't ignore those signs. And then one that you can do at home, if you start seeing any of these and you really want to check in detail, it's called the Adams Forward Bend Test.
Okay.
Really just have your child bend over and reach for their toes, and if you see that one of their ribs arches up on one side more than the other as you look at their back, that's a definitive sign that you really need to get it checked out.
Yeah, a lot of times when you go and get those sports physicals, they do those tests. But going back to that age group, is there a specific age where parents should be a little bit more vigilant?
Yeah, definitely anytime you're starting to notice that rapid period of growth. So, and for girls, it's anywhere from 12 to 14 years old. Boys, typically more like 14 to 16 when they're going through those big growth spurts. And that's a range, but as we know, kids kind of grow at their own rate. So make sure you're aware of that. If you're tracking their height, that's a great way to watch it very closely and start to look out for those signs early. That's the most important part, is early detection leads to early treatment, and that's where we see the best clinical outcomes.
Yes, and does family history have anything to do with this at all?
Definitely. Certainly the word idiopathic, again, means we don't really know the cause. There are hereditary dispositions to it, is the way I like to say that, because there's not one gene that we've isolated that says that, well, yes, mom has this gene, you have this gene, therefore you're definitively going to get scoliosis. That's not the way it works, but there is a much higher incidence of especially moms and daughters both having scoliosis. Even back to grandmother is really important. Wow. So don't ignore that if you have a family history of scoliosis.
So it seems like early detection is certainly key to this, but is there anything that you want to tell our viewers, especially some myths around scoliosis?
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest myths is to don't wait for symptoms. Very rarely does adolescent idiopathic scoliosis lead to direct pain. Now, if your child's having pain, obviously investigate and see what's going on, but don't just wait around for pain. Number two is that posture doesn't cause scoliosis.
Okay.
Meaning just because a child has bad posture doesn't mean they're gonna have scoliosis, and fixing posture isn't the only solution to getting rid of scoliosis. So don't ignore those signs that we talked about with the unlevel shoulders or uneven waistlines. And then lastly, I'd say is that if you've been diagnosed with scoliosis, you or your child have been diagnosed with scoliosis, monitoring it is not a good approach to take. Doing treatment, even with small curves, is the best way to stay proactive and make sure that it's not going to elevate to need more severe interventions like surgery later in life, especially.
And that's where your team comes to the case. So if people are interested in getting in touch with you and your whole team here, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, give us a call at the clinic if you're interested. We do free consults and free screenings for anybody if you're not sure if it's scoliosis and you just want to find out more detail about it. If we need to take x-rays, we can take x-rays right here in the office. That's the gold standard for diagnosing scoliosis. And also check out our website. We have tons of great information, blogs, research articles, and of course, right there on our website, you can also check us out and get set up for that free consult too.
All right, well, thank you so much for having us out today. Again, some really great information. So all you have to do is go online to ScoliCare.com.